Welcome to Digitalsoftecs. In this session, we are going to explain the RDBMS system, named as a Relational Database Management System. Relational Database Management System is very important concept in DBMS tutorials. That is why we should focus on this concept, and we should learn this concept deeply, and we study these that what are the relation, because in RDBMS we study about the relation, we study about the tables. So let's move on. So today's agenda, what is RDBMS? A relational database management system. The components, what are the important components? The properties of relations. You can say the relation is second name for the table. Properties of tables. What is views and advantages of views. So let's explore these concepts one by one. So what is relational database management system? As we know that in database management system, we store data in the tables. So that is why in DBMS, a database management system, we have a lot of components related to the tables, and that is why with the help of this component we can perform different kind of operation. We can interact with the database, and they contain collection of program in DBMS. So all these components have their own specific functionality, and which run this whole DBMS system. So a relational database management system is a DBMS that is based on the relational model. A relational database management system is a collection of software programs for creating, maintaining, modifying, and manipulating of relational database. So that is why in DB, a relational database management system, we have collection of programs, and that program are used for creating, maintaining, and modifying the relations, the data present in the relations. So everything is related to the tables, and everything is related to the relations. So we have the components of RDBMS. What are the important components? We have the file manager, the database manager, the DDL compiler, query processor, and DML compiler. So what is file manager? So file manager allocates space on the disk. It's allow manage the way data is organized and represented in storage. So file manager is, from the name we easily specify that file manager allocates space for the space disk for the data. So that is why they specify that how the data is organized on the disks, and how the storage is represented. So in file manager we have the data, and we have the organization and the architecture, how data is assigned, how data is stored in the storage devices. We have the second important components. We have database manager. Database manager acts as an interface between the user and the data in the database. Sorry. So in database manager acts as an interface between the user and the data in the database. So database manager move the query and the commands from the user towards the database, and they receive the commands from the database towards the user. So this is bridge is made by the database manager. So in database management system, we have this user send the queries, and database response towards the user. So that response is sending and receiving by with the help of database manager. So that is why it acts as an interface between the user and the database. So that is why all the connection is established by the database manager. So what command, what operations are performed in database manager? We have a query processor. So in query processor, most of RDBMS built-in query in database. So the query supported by the most of the commercial RDBMS query processor. There we have a structured query language. With the help of structured query language, we can write a command, and we can send command toward the database. We create databases, and we create tables in the databases. So that is why this is that command is processed by query processor. So structured query language is very important language, with the help of which we can interact with the database, and we create databases, we create tables, we modify the data in the tables, and so we perform different kind of operation on the data present in the database. So we will explore this structured query language tutorial in the future lessons. So we have a data dictionary. So the data dictionary stores information on the data is store the description of a structure of the relation with the database. So data dictionary is very important. So data dictionary store information about the data. So it is called, if for example, if I have a school database and I have the student table in the database, so the data in the data dictionary I saved all the components, all the things about the students, that this is the data of the student, that is data types, all the description of a data is present. In data dictionary we saves the description of a tables. So if for example I have a student table, so it saves the all of the operations, all of the uh, metadata of the student table. So in data dictionary, we saved about the description of the data, about the description of the table, what it contained, what where it created. So all these things are present in the data dictionary. So it also stored the description of a data relationship and constraint on the data. So for example, if I have the student table, so in student table I define a constraint. Constraint is that with the help of a registration ID, we can access the student data. So that is constraint. So that constraint is defined in the data dictionary. So that is why data dictionary help us to study the database and study the description of a table, description of a data present in the table, and also the constraint present on the data is present in the data dictionary. So every database management system have a data dictionary, and the data dictionary have information about the data. So we have DML compiler. DML stands for data manipulation language. DML have statement to insert, delete, and modify data in the database. For example, if I have created a table. So in table, I want to insert data, I want to delete data, and I have want to modify the data. So DML compile help me to manipulate these commands and send these commands and perform these commands, because these are commands which perform operations on the data. So that is why with the help of DML compiler, I can manipulate my operations. I can insert data in the database, I can delete, I can modify data in the database. While in DDL compiler number 6, the data definition are converted to set file that contains about the data. So that is why I create the databases with the help of DDL compiler. So DDL compiler helped me to convert the set of files that contain about the data. So this contains a statement like create the database, alter the database, or delete the database. So while in DML compiler, I want to just perform operations on the data in the database. So I have the types of relationships, types of table. We have a base table. A base table is a table that is created by the user and that is present in the database. They are not derived from the another. For example, if I have a university database, so I want to create a student table. So that table called base table. I want to create employee table that is called base table. They are not derived from other tables. I have the query results. Query is a question in which the user asks the database management system to perform different operation on the tables. For example, a user may wish to see all the students who got A grade. So query results is that when the user want to see the student which got A grade. So they are called manipulating the operations on the data, and I can retrieve the data from the database. So that is performed by the query result. So query results is a question in which the user asks the database management system. So there is a question. When the question is asked from database that show me the student which got A grade, so it will show me the student which have percentage less than 20 or 40% or 50%, whatever the question asked by the user. So query result results the message to the words the user questions. So we have the properties of relations, properties of tables, or property of relation, you can say. Relation has several properties. Some are as follows. Number one is atomic values. In entry at the intersection of each row and column is atomic. There can be no multiple value attribute of repeating groups. For example, if I have this table and I have specified the name attribute, so I cannot create another column which contain the name attribute. I cannot create another column which contain the address attribute. This is because I have already have address attribute and name attribute. That is called atomic values. So unique tuple, we have each tuple in the relation must be unique. For example, if I have the student id at 10 and I have the name and the address, so unique tuple means that I want to assign a unique id to everyone. This is because maybe the student have the same name and the same address, but the registration ID must be different from every student name, and that is unique. So that is why, with the help of primary key, with the help of key, I can create unique tuples. So we have the unique attribute name. That is, we discuss about the name must be unique here. The class must be unique here. So that is why I cannot create another class attribute. I cannot create another name attribute. I cannot create roll number another attribute. So that is why they have unique attribute name. This is because uh, we can atomically store the data, and that data must be consistent and that is stored uniquely in the database, and that is why the attributes represent the whole set of information about the students. So the student may have the same, one name and one class and address. So that is why the unique attribute name must be necessary for the tables. So another important concept there is views. So views is a virtual table. Suppose a user want to view few columns of the base table instead of all columns, a view can be created to fulfill this request. The view consists only those columns of the base table that user want. For example, I have a base table here. We explain the base table that is created by the user. So I have the registration ID, roll number in the name table in the base table, and I have another table there. So another table, no, we have view. So if I want to view the registration ID and name from the this table, so I don't want to see the roll number. So with the help of view, I can just see the registration number and the name from this table. So that is called the view. It contains the two columns and the original table contains three columns. So that is why we specify the user request. So if I ask the database management system that show me the registration ID and the name of the student, not the roll number. So it will uh, show me a virtual table. It is created based upon my request. So that is why that is called view. So view is a virtual table, and that is according to the user expectation, according to the user requirement. That is specified. If I want to see at which student contain this is registration ID, what is his name, this is a registration ID, what is his name. So that is why I need this view for this operation. So that is why view consists only those columns of the base table that the user wants. So we have what are the advantages? Why I need views? If I have the base tables, I can see the information. So let's see about the advantages of view. Some important advantages of using views are as follows. We have the security. So the user can view the specific data the user is authorized to see. The user is restricted to access only specific portion of the stored data. For example, if I have the school database and I have created a student table in that databases. So if I want to allow student to see their registration name, to see their address, to see their roll number, to see their class, not to see their grades, not to see their how to update it, that data is updated, how their examination section, for example examination section. So in is examination section I don't want to show them about their data. What kind of data? I want just to show that this is your percentage, this is your roll number, this is your name. So according to the student requirements, I created views. So the student must be restricted to the some portion, that portion which is highly authorized. For example, the account sections. So account section is not uh, related to the student. This is because the student, we want to show that the student is that your fee is paid or unpaid, not to see individual months, individual every components of that. So there is security. Might be my example will be not specified to you about the security. So the security just restricted the students, restricted the people to can't access. That is why views can just show that is your name, it is your roll number. So that is why security is one of the advantages. Query simplicity. A view can draw from several different tables and present it has a single table. So query simplicity, that is, if I want to show a view, and there we have two tables. So we have table number one and table number two. So query simplicity is that I was to specify the columns of the from the two tables, and I want to show a simple view of from the both table, not to show the both table. So that is the query simplicity, to show the simple data to the users. We have the structure simplicity. View personalized view per database user. It present a database as a virtual tables. Structure simplicity is a virtual table, not as a temporary. There is a permanent table. For example, if we have a base table student, so from a student I want to see their roll number and their name. So that is why it is a virtual table, and when the user or the student may exit leave the screen, so it will disappear. So there is structure simplicity, the simple structure of views. Insulation from change. A view can present an unchanged image of a database means view can be temporary, show the data in the database. So it is a temporary uh, showment of data and display the data for a specific time. That is why it is not a permanent change. It is just the views of the uh, database, of the data present in the database. So it is all about the relational database management system. If you facing any difficulties or any queries, write your queries in the comment section. We will try to resolve it.